Uh, this has got to be the worst season finale PR has ever done. Hi everyone and welcome to another Ranger Rant episode. Of course everyone knows I'm Archer9234. Today I'll be discussing Power Rangers Zeo's season finale titled Good as Gold. This episode wasn't adapted from any Super Sentai episode particularly. The main reason why is because the way O-Ranger ended the series and the way Zeo used the footage. Now first of all, at the end of O-Rangers, King Mondo never came back. He was killed originally back in O-Rangers episode 34. Queen Machina committed suicide. Prince Sprocket was really Prince Gasket because it was some weird time thing, and then he grew up and then married What's-Her-Face, and that was really him and not really a brother. So they were unable to use any of the original footage that was used at the end of O-Ranger episode 48. So instead they created an original US ending. Unfortunately, this ending was confusing, didn't make any sense, and it never really lined up to the Turbo movies stuff. So the episode begins where we find out that Jason is losing his powers and he's running across the inside a forest. I'm particularly confused why he entered the forest. It was like, why did he go there alone without telling anyone where he was? It just felt weird. But then the thing that also confused me the most is that his communicator just didn't work. And the loosely explanation that they gave was that it was being affected by his powers. And I'm like, that never has happened inside a PR episode before. Tommy's powers were failing constantly in season 1 and season 2 of MMPR. Yeah, his communicator still worked. This was like really one of those lazy explanations of why they couldn't contact him. So while this was going on and everyone was trying to attack Jason, everyone was like, "Oh, we could steal the Gold Ranger powers if from Jason and stuff." This really also bugged me because I was like, how does King Mondo or especially Rita and Lord Zed know that Jason's powers are failing? I mean, that's a big assumption to do. And first of all, could they really have stolen it from him? It just felt really convenient and awkward. So while this is going on, Adam and Tommy are training in the youth center, of course, with people that they've been doing for several years, and they're getting kind of worried, like, where's Jason? That he's never missed any kind of, training exercise with the classes and students and stuff. As this goes along, more friends and other cast rangers were coming in. Catherine were coming in and saying, well, where is he? Unfortunately, Rocky was not really in this episode, mainly because at this point in time he was going to be replaced in Turbo later on, and plus he was getting busy with his stuff in his personal life. Steve Cardenas was starting to leave the show, so he was unable to really come on the show as that often. As the scene keeps going back and forth between Jason losing his powers and the youth center, it really bugged me that everyone's like, where's Jason? Where's Jason? Where's Jason? If you were really worried about him and no one has a clue where he is, why didn't you just call him on his communicator? I know that they said the communicator doesn't work, but the point is that they would have immediately known something was wrong and headed to the command center right then and there instead of like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, probably in their time, discussing where he is. So after a little bit, we finally see that Bulk and Skull finally graduate and become full detectives. Which is great and all because we had all this great buildup where Bulk and Skull were trying to be police officers. Then they switched over to be detectives. It took them nearly the entire year, and they finally graduate and stick it through with Lieutenant Stone or Detective Stone, and they finally graduate and become full detectives. What I really hate though is that at the end of Zeo and in the middle half and the beginning half of Turbo, this whole arc became useless. It was like they got what they finally wanted. They wanted to be real detectives. They wanted to have pay. They wanted to have good jobs. They finally get it. And then starting from Turbo, it's all erased. They turn into monkeys. And it seems like it's a total waste of time that they did set this up. So after King Mondo and Queen Machina and Prince Sprocket appear personally and trying to take Jason's powers away, Rita Repulse and Lord Zed come out of the blue with Tangas and attack King Mondo because they're having a grudge, obviously, because King Mondo basically kicked them off the moon while they were trying to take over Earth. So they always had this grudge and they wanted to get revenge. So while this was going on, they totally forgot that they were going after Jason, and Jason escapes. A little bit after a while, he does make it to the youth center. Why go to the youth center and not go directly to the command center? It made really no sense. I mean, he should have simply returned to the command center. He would have went into the diagnostic bed, and then Zordon should have called the Rangers. But instead, he goes to the youth center. He passes out. He thinks he's totally injured, and everyone was all worrying when he should have really gone to the command center. So after a little bit, we finally get an explanation of what's going on, and then we find out that Zordon says that the Gold Ranger powers are incompatible with Jason. He's basically being killed from them because there's probably too much power for a person's body, and so he's slowly dying. Now, in order to get this all fixed up, the powers have to be transferred back into Trey, but unfortunately, since the main issue where Trey was split up into 3 different people, he's unable to actually regain the gold powers. Conveniently enough, though, that Zordon finally transmitted help for Trey, and he finally arrived back on Earth. So, and they were trying to discuss, what could they do in order to get them put back together, because at this point they had no idea what to do. So Zordon had to think of a way that basically a risky circumstance where he has to basically use the gold power staff and bounce off energies from Earth, Trayforia, and Aquitar in order to combine the powers from the Gold Ranger into Trey and forming him into one being. Now, okay, this is a deadly circumstance and a deadly operation in order to do so. Obviously, this is why Zordon probably had never suggested it at all, and it's fine and all. But the thing that bugged me, though, is that there was a moment where Kat said, what about the side effects? What side effects? They were not talking about any kind of side effects. Zordon was just simply explaining the situation and what they need to do in order to do anything. My guess is that the editor, whoever was editing this episode, cut out a scene where they were discussing side effects and other things that were probably at risk between either Jason or Trey, and they simply cut it out, and it was a sloppy edit. So that's the reason why Kat says there's side effects. I was like, how would she know there's any side effects? Zordon and Trey never said anything. So after a little bit, they finally teleport out of the command center and to the coordinates where they have to, in order to use the golden power staff. They arrive inside a desert area where King Mondo unfortunately found out where their locations are and rushed them. So while Trey, the three Treys and Jason are trying to summon the power staff and go to where they have to go, the Rangers fight them off. So while the Rangers are fighting off King Mondo's goons and himself and everyone else, Trey and Jason finally are able to transfer the powers and recombine Trey to one person. So Trey now, fortunately enough, has saved Jason's life and has become the permanent Gold Ranger. This is what I really hate about this. This is a season finale. It's supposed to be amazing. It's supposed to be epic. It's supposed to be dramatic, climactic, like every other season finale, pretty much for PR. But this season finale really lacks at this point in time. And instead of calling the Zords, because again, they can't use any of the O-Ranger footage, and I assume they were not going to spend money on filming American Zord footage with the O-Ranger suits, they decided, well, let's do something different. Make everyone big and fight. It was really cheesy. It wasn't shot at all well at all. Like in the beginning of season 3, when they were shooting the U.S. footage with the Thunder Zords and how they were being blown up, that was good. I mean, it was not perfect like Japan does it, because Japan spends a lot of money on a set and better lighting and conditions and stuff. But it was still a decent moment in PR. But Zio's giant fight was very weird. Mondo gets big. Okay, that happened in Zio. Then Trey had the power to make Rangers big this entire time. It just came out of nowhere, and it made totally no sense. Then to top it off, Jason wasn't in the fight, obviously, since he was weakened. It's not that much of a big deal. But the anticlimactic fight was that the Rangers stopped him within a few minutes. They destroyed him. They made him fall apart. Sparks were flying. King Mondo was over with. So after that main fight, the Rangers think Mondo's dead. They return to the command center, and they're discussing all the stuff with Trey. After a bit, though, Rita Repulsa comes back, and we find out King Mondo faked his death with everyone. And Rita and Lord Zed, give him a sorry present, and it's like, okay, fine. And then Rita and Zed blow them up. So technically, the Rangers actually never finished them off. It was Rita and Zed's stupid bomb that blew them up. It really felt weird, because it was like in Forever Red, they said they destroyed their forces, they destroyed their stuff, and it just didn't line up anything with this finale at all. It was just too forced, awkward, and it just didn't make any sense. The thing that really bugs everyone and for this finale is what Zed says. We're back inside the trailer home. Okay, great. You were going, at this point in time, Zeo has ended, so we thought in the next season, Zed and Rita were going to be used. But what it turns out is that the Turbo movie happened and Divatox was the main villain. So what happened between then and there? Divatox was the main villain. Lord Zed and Rita never came back until the end of space. So saying we're back didn't actually happen at all. So this episode is even more of a ridiculous mess. So after a little bit, we do get this nice, fun final moment with Jason and Tommy alone. Again, they have their close relationship as usual because, again, they created this really close bond back from MMPR days, and so they were discussing like, well, Jason now is no longer a ranger, he has free time, he can do whatever he wants, and we got hinted to that he was going to go out with his new girlfriend, which is great and all. And then we also get that little hinted moment with Kat and Tommy trying to, like, you know, maybe assemble a relationship as well. And then the episode ends right there. So we assumed that this was going to be expanded on in the following season. Unfortunately, these relationships were never mentioned again, and nothing was ever resolved. This was the last time that we saw Jason in the series until, excluding the movie portion, until Forever Red. So unfortunately, we never got any of these resolves. We never got anything explained. King Mondo's death was ridiculous. It was all a whole mess. I mean, it was an okay standalone episode, but it wasn't an okay as a season finale at all. Unfortunately, I have to give this episode a 2 out of 5. I mean, it had some good moments because, again, we're risking lives. They do reference that he could die. We did get the resolve with Trey and him getting the Gold Ranger powers back. At least they resolved that. But the issue was that it was so anticlimactic. We didn't get a proper fight with the main villain. And the Rangers didn't even finish off the main villain. He faked his death, and then Zed did it. I personally think that was like the worst idea they could have ever done for a PR episode. What do you guys personally think? Do you think it was all right that they had done this? Do you think that it was cool that Zed finally did it? Because, I mean, they did kick him off the moon, so he did kind of have a grudge for revenge. As always, leave your suggestions below and leave your comments below on what do you think about this episode I've ranted on. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys right back here next week. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant episode. Of course, everyone knows I'm Archer9. Hi everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant episode. Of course, everyone knows I'm Archer9234. Today I'll be talking about Power Rangers Zeo's season finale titled Good. Hi everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant episode. As everyone knows, I'm Archer9234. Today I'll be which is really unfortunate because it was a really cool, unique dynamic that they used Bulk and Skull because technically they had dropped out of school, which was really not referenced but it was pretty much given that they did drop out of school because they didn't graduate in Turbo and they were just trying to pursue, you know, real jobs instead of, you know, going to college and stuff. So I just really hated that they simply wasted these two characters into nothing starting from Turbo. So while the Rangers were fighting, luckily enough, Rocky came in for a little bit and covered Jason's back while the three Treys and Jason are trying to summon the energy from the 3-planet energy source that they were trying to do.